Cognitive diary example. Fear of having a panic attack while flying. Event. I want to attend my friend's wedding, but I will have to fly. I'm afraid of flying because I have been having panic attacks, and I'm afraid of having one while flying. I know flying is safe, and I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid of feeling trapped, panicking, and not having any help. Emotions: apprehension, embarrassment, terrified. Distress rating, 9, feeling desperate. Thoughts: what if I have a panic attack while flying? I can't leave and I will feel trapped, which will make my anxiety worse. I will feel out of control. What will people think of me? Can you identify the irrational thinking in this example? There are at least 3 irrational beliefs. How can you change the thinking? What is another way of thinking about the situation that won't cause the feelings of apprehension, embarrassment, and terror? Pause here before listening to the answers to consider what cognitive beliefs might be causing the self-talk and how to refute those beliefs. Answer: irrational beliefs. 1. Catastrophizing. When a person has what-ifs, they are predicting a future outcome that may or may not happen. However, the what-if itself may actually increase the likelihood of anxiety, which in this case could cause a panic attack. This type of what-if can create a self-fulfilling prophecy in which the catastrophic event, a panic attack, is caused by the worry itself. The belief increases anxiety, which increases the likelihood of panic, thus fulfilling the prediction. However, the opposite can also be true. The more that a person believes he or she can handle having a panic, the less likely it will occur. With catastrophic thoughts of this type, it is important to recognize that your thoughts can impact whether you have a panic or not. Catastrophic thoughts are not about something that is happening right now. They are assumptions about the future, predicting a future possibility. The mindful focus on the present can reduce the anxiety about future events. By focusing on what can be done in the present, the anxiety can be reduced. 2. Mind reading others. The belief that other people will think a certain way is an assumption. In this case, the assumption is that other people will have critical thoughts. There are 2 ways to combat this thinking. One is to recognize that the assumption may not be accurate, and the second is to challenge the idea that it matters. In this situation, for instance, most people know people who have a fear of flying. So if others have any thoughts about a person having a panic attack while flying, they are most likely to attribute it to a fear of flying. Some people, then, are likely to act by trying to comfort and reassure, whereas others may not even notice because they are focused on something else. Of course, some people may have critical thoughts, but if they do, what does it matter? Usually, if people are critical, it is only a demonstration of their own lack of empathy and concern for others. Why be concerned about what such people think? 3. Emotional reasoning. Based upon the thought, what will people think of me? This person is making an assumption that feeling out of control means losing control. Those are 2 very different things. Emotional reasoning is the belief that what you feel is true. In this situation, it is the belief, if I feel out of control, I will be out of control. However, that is not always the case. In fact, for the majority of people with anxiety and even panic, their anxiety is not evident to other people. What this means is that they can't possibly be out of control if other people do not notice anything unusual. The other issue in this situation is that even if a person is out of control, what is likely to happen? Most likely, the flight attendant will recognize the person as anxious and do something to help. How can this thinking be changed? Maybe I'll have a panic attack, maybe I won't. However, what I do know is that the more I worry about having a panic, the more likely it will occur. Instead, I'll focus on using my anxiety management skills. I can focus on practicing and preparing myself before I fly. Also, I know most people are unlikely to be critical of me just for being anxious while flying. That is not such a terrible thing in the whole scheme of things. If I do get anxious, I know I can handle it. I have before. Just because I feel out of control doesn't mean I am out of control. The worst case is that I will be uncomfortable for a while.